just don't feel the same. Just don't feel the same.
Welcome, folks, to episode 11 of Coming Up Comic. You know, some days I wonder why I keep doing this, quite frankly. But days like today, when I'm chatting and hanging with somebody as cool as you, it reminds me
Hell yeah.
exactly what I'm doing and why.
Good for you, man. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
This is awesome.
Thank you.
you. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Today we have Avril Granato. And
I still surprised when I hear that last name because that's not my maiden name. So it's just always, it's been so long. I've been married like almost 30 years. So it's just when I hear Granato, it's still like, oh, Granato.
I know, I'm like, did I say it wrong?
Oh, no, you said it perfect.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with how we met.
Yeah.
We just met a couple weeks ago for the first time at
Yes.
Comedy and Caviar.
That's right. Les Bouchons.
Yeah.
Les Bouchons.
Bouchon, baby.
That was awesome. Yeah, so that's crazy because I used to work, the guy that owned the building, and I think his family still owns it, Frank Scolio. So Frank Scolio owned that building. He didn't run Les Bouchons, but he was a restaurant guy himself. He owned Burgundy Inn on Ashland by Diversey, and he also owned a dive bar on Armitage and Racine called Shoes. So I had worked for him. I met him when I was 17 years old. And then I worked for him at the Burgundy Inn. And so that was crazy when I went to Les Bouchons and I was talking to the waitress. I said, oh, I knew the owner of this building. She's like, Frank? I'm like, yeah, Frank Scolio. She's like, oh, yeah, he's here 3-4 times a week. And I'm like, he's dead. She's like, yeah, his ghost is here 3-4 times a week.
Stop.
And he was there that night. And he finally got to see me he never saw me do comedy.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so he got to see me because he hadn't even seen me get back into, art or anything from when I knew him. He knew I used to be an actress when I was younger. He came to some of my plays when I was like 19, 20, but not 19, 20, but 19 and 20 years. I'm not that old. But yeah, so that was crazy too, that to be there and to see like the tin roof and ceiling.
Wow.
So that was amazing. And yeah, he was dead and the waitress was like, yeah, he's here.
And just to be clear for
Yeah.
the listeners, when you
Yes.
say he's here, she's talking about a ghost.
Yeah.
Like he's
Yeah.
there as a ghost
As
3
a
or 4
ghost.
times a week.
That's what she said. Yeah, because when she said he's here 3-4, I'm like, she's like, oh, of course I know he passed. Of course I know that. She's like, he's here as a ghost, and everybody who works here knows that. And he used to always say, I'm going to haunt this place.
Freak out.
He used to say that. I'm like, why would you pick that place and not the other places? And it was crazy that he would say that. And this was like 20 years before he died. He would say, because those other places aren't going to be there. This building will still be there.
No way.
And the other places aren't there. It's true. And so that's where he haunts, is because it's still there. And then I'm pretty sure his family still owns the building. His kids probably.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would love to, and I feel like you'd be willing to do it with me. Let's go there and do like a Ghost Adventures.
Oh my God.
Like
Not a seance.
No, but
no.
like a skit. Like we'll just kind of
Oh.
fart around for the night with
for
cameras.
women, because it's always all guys.
Yes.
And we could get one of those things, they have that barometer. Oh, he's
Well-
here. He's here. I can feel it. And then they have that audio recorder where they're always like, wah, wah, wah,
Yes,
wah. And he's like,
yes.
he said he's here.
We're doing it.
Okay, let's do it.
We're gonna have to edit
That's
this out
badass.
to keep it secret because it's we're really gonna do this. I can see it.
No, I can see it too. See, I told you you're a visionary. Yeah, I can see it too. And we'll have that waitress who was saying that she sees him.
Heather.
Heather be part of it.
And she's incredible. She's been such a help at
She was
Comedy and
amazing.
Caviar.
She was so warm and welcoming.
Yeah.
She was awesome.
Wow. But I feel like a real connection, like kindred spirits with you.
For sure.
We're talking about the Bouchon connection, the Frank Scolio. Is that
That
saying
Frank
it right?
Scolio, yeah.
Thank you. Connection. We're talking about the artwork behind me.
Yes.
The UP, the Upper Peninsula. We're
Mm-hmm.
talking about some haunted spots up north, the Paulding
Right.
Light.
Yeah, more ghosts.
But there's so much I want to talk to you about, but clearly you mentioned earlier that you come from a family that openly talked about reincarnation and
yes.
like spirits
That's
and ghosts and things like that.
So much. So both my parents were artists, and one of the interesting things that we did too, I was telling somebody this the other day, because to me it almost seemed normal. You know, when you're growing up, it felt normal. But one week we'd go to Catholic church. We lived right by St. Michael's at the time. We'd go to Catholic church, and then the another week we'd go to Buddhist temple. So we were back and forth, and I'll never forget when I was about 3 years old, the Swami Kriyananda, that was his name, he held a candle in front. All the little kids were sitting on a rug, and he held a candle in front of our face, and he said, stare at the candle. And so you stared at it, and he said, now close your eyes. And so, you close your eyes, and you still see like that white light, that white vision. And then he would talk about, you can help heal, your loved ones. So he would go on about that. But so we were always back and forth with very much esoteric, but also the Catholic was there. So there was a lot going on, And then my dad would read astrological charts sometimes to have extra money in the house. And he was like a self-proclaimed clairvoyant. So he would like read into people's charts. And he would never do our charts because he said he didn't want to see too much. Like he said he would be able to see when we would die, and he didn't want to like mess with fate because if you know when your kid's going to die, like you would try to prevent it. And so that's what he would tell us, like we're like read our chart. He would never read our charts, so he never read our charts. But he would do like we learned a lot about astrology and all that and reincarnation. It was all just normal conversations in our house.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. So your dad was a clairvoyant. Your mom was an artist. Tell me about that and tell me about growing up, what the dynamic was with your family.
So they met at the Art Institute. And then my dad, when he left the Art Institute, he was a teacher there for a while. And then my mom was actually a student at the time. And so that's how they met. And she dropped out and got married. They got married in 1958. And they lived in Old Town. And he got a really good job at Bell and Howell. So he was working at Bell and Howell, and he was like the head of the art direction there. And he was doing that. And he had a really good job for a while. And then he lost his job. And we were living in Old Town, and we moved across the street to another place on Eugenie, and he couldn't get back in the same game. Like he was trying to get back at that like good paying job, and he didn't want my mom to work. He was like, I promise you, not to work. She wanted to work. So then we moved to Lakeview, and she's like, I'm getting a job. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, we're not going to go hungry because it was bad for a while. And so she got a job as a secretary. He was still out of work for a long time. And he had to come to the realization that he had to pivot. Like, he couldn't do, like, the graphic art anymore. He couldn't be an art director. He wasn't never going to get that type of job where he was wearing a suit every day to work, Those days were gone. So he was out of work for several years. So that was we moved, I went to 5 grade schools and 2 high schools. So that just shows you it was kind of like this vagabond kind of lifestyle where, it was not secure. But there was the art always in the household. My dad was always painting. My mom would do some sculpting. She gave it up a little later. But she would still sculpt in the house. I still have some of her sculptures. So, and my brother and I both played musical instruments. He got a scholarship to go to DePaul for music. He played the clarinet. So it was always that art around. But there was also, those times where, I mean, there were days when we went hungry, so that was, and looking back and having to go to that many schools and everything, I feel like it kind of made me like a chameleon. So when people say like read the room, it's like, it just reminds me of like going to a school and you're new, and you don't have your friends anymore. Because back, in Chicago, when you went to a new school, it's usually because you moved.
Right.
And so now you're not only are we in a new neighborhood, it's a new school. So all your friends are gone. So that was kind of that background, I think, that helped me when I got into theater and stuff, that some people could call it trauma. But for me, I think it was just like preparing me to be able to, you never know what you're going to, expect. Like every day is different, and that's how my childhood was. Like there was never like a set schedule, we never knew. Are we going to move tomorrow? Is we're going to go to a new school? So there was that,
Yeah. So from a young age, which is interesting now because part of comedy is reading the room.
Right.
So
It's so crazy when I hear that. I'm
it's
like,
like at a young age, that vagabond lifestyle, you had to learn to read the room
right.
more and more than a kid usually has to do in most cases, but it kind of was preparing you for what's next.
Exactly. I think that's so true. And I heard another comic talk about this with her, about her dad. And so that was the same thing. Like when my dad was out of work, he was the provider for all these years. And so when he was out of work, he was drinking. So he was drinking and he's depressed and he's, pissed off at everybody. So not only like read the room going to school, but read the room like in your own house. Like
Yes.
I don't want to, tip him off. Like I don't want to make him go to that other side. Like I could be funny. Like, and I, think it's just, I do little things and it make my dad laugh. And my brother and sister didn't do that. And you could see, like, if he was in a bad mood, I could get him out of a bad mood. So there was always that too, like trying to put on, a little show for him just to get him back in a good mood.
That's very interesting because coming from a big family, it's like we were always encouraged to be together and stay together. And I think it enables you to develop the skills to almost read that energy and know the tension around you because
Right.
it's part of the dynamic of the family. Like you feel when something's broken. You feel
Sure.
when your parents are not happy with you.
Right.
But again, like going back to what we've been talking about earlier, like the energy and the feeling. So it's something you kind of honed in on at a young age. And that's something I feel like I experience sometimes where you're just feeling so much.
You're feeling it, right? Yeah. And I remember we would be able to, and then we also had such good hearing because we would be able to learn. Like sometimes you knew, don't even engage with him. Like it's too far over. Like he's just gonna be pissed no matter what.
Yeah.
And you could hear, like, we knew like the stairs. We would memorize like which stair was like the sound where it was 3 more steps to go. So you would pretend like you were either sleeping or like you were busy pretending to clean. Like my sister and I would always pretend we were cleaning the bathroom. And we talked about that later. We would just laugh. And he's like, good for you girls. You're working hard. We're like, yeah, cleaning the bathroom. And then he'd just walk by and like go pass out. But we knew like, okay,
Yeah.
he's coming. So look busy.
Look busy. Interesting.
And that helped me in jobs later in life, like in restaurant jobs. If the manager would walk in and nobody's there yet, and the other waiters are just sitting around, I would jump up and start like cleaning the glasses, and they're like, "Really?" or "Kiss ass." And I'm like, "No." It took me years later to see. No, I did that because that was what I did with my dad when he would walk by. I wanted to look busy.
Wow, that resonates with me too, because I still do that as an adult. Like in the office, I'm not. It would be inappropriate to just blindly, like I don't care.
Right.
It'd be like, look busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely something I heard growing up and something that we would do too. It's
Yeah,
like
look
we would
busy.
have days where it's like, all right, We are cleaning.
We're cleaning.
Spring cleaning.
Spring cleaning. Oh my God, my mom. It was spring clean. We're like, and people don't know, like spring cleaning, like washing the walls. Spring cleaning.
Yes.
Like you're banging the carpet outside.
100%.
Like,
our spring cleaning would involve like cleaning all of the lawn furniture, like hand washing it.
Oh wow.
Flipping it upside
We
down.
didn't have any lawn furniture.
My mom was popular for, and they were plastic.
Yeah. But you gotta clean them.
The plastic back in the early 90s was a lot higher quality. Some of those chairs are still around in our basement.
Because you cleaned them good.
Because we cleaned those bitches, yeah. But my mom, she was notorious. She'd flip the chair upside down, flip it over.
And
She'd
clean
say, clean
underneath.
the bottom. Clean the whole goddamn thing.
And you know what's funny? When I look back at all the cleaning, too, that we did with my mom, but it also made me fall in love with music because my mom would always have music on. So we weren't just cleaning in silence. Like she was trying to make it fun, like in her own way. So we always had music on. Like that's how I fell in love with like the Beatles and the Beach Boys. And then sometimes she'd have like opera on. So we heard a lot of classical music. But there was always music to clean to. So
yes, my mom too.
Yeah, blasting Janis Joplin.
Oh, yeah.
Like all that music. We fell in love with by cleaning. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's crazy too.
Wow.
Yeah. So there was always like art put in with the tasks.
That's interesting because I didn't look at it that way as art being put into the tasks. It was just something that helped kind of like get you moving. But that's what my mom would say, like, turn off these TVs, turn on some music, let's get moving, let's clean this house.
Right. But that's it's art being injected into everyday life to make it bearable.
What happened next? You mentioned that you started to do some acting. Mm-hmm. Now, did you go to school? Take me through how that step came about.
So I started dancing at like 9 or 10, and I always wanted to be a dancer. So that's what I thought. I was going to be a dancer. And I did it in high school, and then I started being in the drama program in high school. And then out of high school, I had to work. I didn't go to college. Work. But I was doing acting, and I got a job at Victory Gardens Theater, and I was taking classes there, and I met some really good, like Dennis Zacek, and then I met a bunch of people from Steppenwolf, like the beginning people from Steppenwolf, and so I was able to do, even though I never did a play at Steppenwolf, but I did a lot of I did plays at Victory Gardens, and so like from 19 to probably about 22, 23, I was like nonstop doing theater in Chicago, and it was awesome. That was such a wonderful time. And then I got married to my husband, and then at that time he was just getting involved in politics, and so that all just shifted towards his life and like supporting him. And then I had 2 kids pretty close out the gate, and had a stepdaughter, so ready-made family already, and it was wonderful. It was beautiful. It was the best time of my life too. But I always it was always something missing, and I would write a lot. Like I also do a lot of poetry, so I was always writing, but not like doing my art. Do you know what I mean? Like it wasn't doing my art. And then one day my daughter was in college, and so I fast forward to then. I was the mom because they both went to UIC for BFA, and they were both acting majors at Lincoln Park High School, where I went to too. So all the kids would always come over to my house, not to party or anything, but I would make big dinners for them, and they could just like have fun and laugh and be silly, because their parents were like, don't be an artist, like don't be an artist. And I'm like, be an artist. Like if that's what you're meant to be, like you're going to have a whole life of fighting that art, and you're going to be miserable. You're going to get sick, like literally. And my mom used to say, if you don't do your art, your body will let you know one piece at a time. And later, that's when I had like 3 back-to-back surgeries. So that's interesting. I always think of that when my mom said, your body will let you know one piece at a time. So my daughter one day told me, she's like, Mom, all our life you're always like, pursue what you love, pursue your passion, do your art. Like you always said that to us, but you're not doing it. And my daughter and I are super close. She's a Cancer. So my daughter and I, that came from such a deep, grounded place, and we are so connected that I was like, it felt like a semi hit me.
Wow.
But I said, you know what? That's the wake up I need. So what am I going to do? What can I do? So I was going to start to get back into acting, and then COVID hit. So I was like, see, they're saying shut it down, like don't do it. But then COVID started, like restrictions come, and I said, you know what? Like those people that my friends that live in Land O'Lakes up north in Wisconsin said, why don't you try stand up? And I said, you know what? I'm gonna do writing. I'm gonna do the class. I'm gonna take a class to see.
Now, how many years ago was this?
This was the first time I took a class. November of this year will be 4 years ago that I walked into Lincoln Lodge.
Wow.
And took a class. And I took a class it was an all-female class. Chelsea Hood, who's an amazing.
Yes,
she's
Chelsea. Shout out to Chelsea.
Shout
Hood.
out to Chelsea Hood. She's amazing. And so there was 5 of us in the class, and she went with us on our first open mic at the Holiday Club on Sheridan. So we all went, and that was terrifying. But we basically wrote for 5 weeks, and then we had our graduation show.
Wow.
And I was like, you know what? I love this. I'm going to see if I still didn't think if I could do it or not, but I loved it. So I'm like, I'm going to just like try as hard as I can now. And so then I took another class, the FemCom Punch Up, which is like the advanced one with Deanna Ortiz. And we did that. And that's where I met a bunch of other comics who were already doing work and stuff, like Lindsay Porter and then Christy Turner and these other people that were already in the class who already kind of had some skin in the game. Mm-hmm. So I met them, and we went to open mics every week together as a group of women walking into open mic. And that's powerful because, the open mics in Chicago can be challenging. Yeah. A lot of younger men, and, it's just tough. We're all older women. Like, we're older women. We're moms. Like, where's a space for us? So then we just start. So for a whole year, I did open mics, never missed a week. Sometimes I would go 5 days a week, open mic. And then I did a first show at Lincoln Lodge after doing open mics for a year. Yeah, and then after about a year and a half of doing, after that, I got involved with Bad Moms of Comedy. And then that gave me more of a space to be in front of audiences.
Wow.
Yeah, like a curated audience. So and then that's been going more and more. And then another moms group, Moms Unhinged, who are based out of Colorado. So it's like, wow, these kids paid off. Like, I wouldn't be getting this work if I wasn't a mom.
I'm a mom.
I'm a mom, I swear.
And I'm a bad mom.
Yeah, I'm a bad mom. Like I always say, I was voted in high school most likely to become a bad mom. So
Nice. I'm not a bad mom. But I'm a
bad bitch girl.
I'm a funt. I'm a fun aunt.
There
I'm
you
a
go.
funt.
There, that's the best.
Uh-huh.
That's the best way.
I love it. I really love it.
Because then you can go home at the end of the day, and you can travel, and you can save your money. And
Yes.
like all that
But
stuff.
it has went fast.
Oh, it's.
I mean, that kids has got to be the biggest display of time passing, just watching a child grow.
It's amazing. And you hear it and you're like, oh yeah, I know, but you don't. You just never. There's so many moments you wish you could have savored more. So that's why I when I look back at it, and my mom, people telling, oh, you never, you didn't do your art when you were married. I said, you know what, I'm glad I had that time with my kids, that I wasn't trying to pursue something outside for me, just for me. I still worked. I was always working in restaurants and still had a full-time job. But if I would have been trying to pursue, acting as well, I don't think I would have had as much time that I did with them. And I'm glad I had that time that I have with them. Because now, and we still talk about the times being up in Wisconsin, like, that's their favorite memories. And it was just nothing. We didn't even have phones, and there was no internet. Nothing worked up there. Right. So it was just me and the kids. My husband would go and then drive back to Chicago. And one time we were up there for a month without a car. Yeah, and like storms are coming, and like one time a bear tried to break into the house, but we were like, yay, like
It's exciting.
It was exciting, and it was you bond with your kids like that. Like there's nothing like it, So for me,
incredible.
And now I feel like I have a second chance at life. Like yeah. So I'm gonna go for it after all.
And that's something that resonates with me so much. is I'm somebody who got into comedy later in life.
There you go. Yeah.
I was 40 when I did comedy for my first time. And the strange thing about me is it wasn't really something that I wanted to do or sought out to do.
You're right.
But it was something that I found along the path.
Okay.
But what I did know I wanted to do at a young age was be a filmmaker.
That's amazing.
And so it's interesting because it's just sort of like the universe positioning you into places to bring you to the ultimate goal, but how you're going to get there, you don't know.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's amazing. Right. And and I can see that. I told you that just hearing you talk, like you are a visionary. And that's that, they always show like Francis Ford Coppola, like he is showing, like they see things through like a lens because you're picturing like a scene, like a little movie playing out. Yeah. And that's a visionary.
We were speaking before we started about the fact that your grandmother was an artist, your mom was an artist, and your mom didn't want you to get married because she wanted you to pursue your art.
That's right. And she was so dramatic that she literally wore black to our wedding.
I saw that.
Yes, I posted that. Yeah, so she was.
But
really,
now I know why. That's crazy.
Yeah, she was protesting.
No
kidding.
kidding.
That's what she said, and she was, she was a protester back in the day. So she was like, "No, this is how I'm protesting." And my grandmother was so mad at her. She's like, "You had nothing else to wear but black." She's like, "Yeah, I wanted to wear black, but that's a big thing. The mother of the bride wearing black.
Whoa,
you're protesting the wedding.
Yeah.
You're not happy about the marriage."
Whoa. Mm-hmm. Is your mom still around?
No, she passed. No, she passed a while ago. So she passed before my dad, and that's my husband always says because she never kind of came around to my husband after so many years. But he said if she would have seen the way he took they moved to Santa Fe to retire because my dad wanted to paint out there, and he got into a gallery and stuff, and so that was his dream. But so she died out there, and my husband went out there and packed up the U-Haul and drove, and I flew with my dad, and he drove the U-Haul from Santa Fe back to Chicago. And my dad lived with us for about almost 8 years before he passed, and they were best friends. And he said, if your mom could have seen how I was with your dad, she might have liked me. And I said, no, she's never gonna like you, bro. She ain't never gonna like you. She made her mind up, and hilarious. She was just that. She would appreciate it that you did that, but that was just her. And then when I became a mom to a daughter, I saw my mom in a different light because I understood that fierce, like, oh no, don't do what I did. Like, don't do what I did, And I felt that too. And, my daughter's, she's got a master's degree in education now. So she's not doing what I did, but I know that feeling now as a mom, and I don't blame her, because she was it wasn't that she didn't like him. It could have been anybody that was going to take me away from what I was doing.
Yes.
That terrified her because she lost it. And her mom lost it. And she didn't want me to lose that. Because she knows it's always there. The art's always there. It's never going anywhere. But so, yeah, I think she can see me. Hopefully she can see me pursuing something completely different. So, but I think she can see that. And I feel her sometimes. In shows and stuff. Sometimes I think I hear her laugh. Mm-hmm. She had like a Carol Burnett laugh. Yeah. So it's wild, but... Yeah, that was my mom. She was very dramatic.
I love it. I feel so dramatic in this moment.
I know. Yeah,
I'm thinking of your mom
like
so deeply.
So...
That is like such a bad bitch move to wear a black dress.
And it was a big
to
wedding.
Your wedding.
It was a big wedding, and people were like, "That's your mom."
So did she smile at the wedding? Was she like laughing and having fun?
It was funny
or was it
there were some people like there was a couple of people. They were like Dan Rostenkowski was there, who was a former congressman who that was the last hurrah before he went to jail. Like the FBI was there to make sure he wasn't going to be like on a run. Like he had to like turn himself into jail the next day. So she was like obsessed with Dan Rostenkowski. So she was like following him around through the wedding and like talking to him and stuff. So she was like, yeah. So that was the other thing. They're like, okay, she's having fun. Like, what is going on?
Wow. That's hilarious.
Yeah. And my dad was in a nice tux, and my grandmother was like in a gold dress, and it was just. And there's my mom, like, she, and she. But in the pictures too, she was always kind of like. She had a little smile.
Oh my God, that's great.
It's so funny. Now I look back at it, I'm just like, it's just so funny. It's just so drama.
It's almost a generational
For sure, it's generational thing.
yearning to do one's art and to follow that navigation where your soul's saying to do this, and bringing it back to you being grateful that you've had this time with your kids, and now you can do your comedy through a different lens,
Right.
with that perspective,
Right.
which is something I feel too, coming from corporate America and working almost 30 years in corporate America. It's like I have a different perspective than some other comedians out there, as
sure.
do you.
Well, and I think that's what's so great. I think that's what there's you see audiences are responding to, not only older comics, but especially women, whether they're mothers or not, because of the life experience. It's nothing to putting down people in their 20s, but there's not that life experience there. And when you start doing comedy, you start to see the art form is different than theater, because you're exposed as you're doing your own writing. You're you up there. You have to be, you have to come across as authentic. There's no way around it. So you just have to be you. But what are you going to talk about, right? So you have this life experience that the kids just don't have. Like, they can be as clever as they want, but they're not going to have the life experience of that other people do. And the audiences that are out there, for the most part, are older. They're Gen X and up.
Sure.
And they resonate with life experience. Wow. Yeah. And so, hey, it's selling.
Yes, it is
It's selling.
selling.
And I think this is such an amazing time. Like, somebody was saying the other day that it's like a renaissance in comedy right now. And they had been in the game for a long time. And they're like, they've never seen it where it's more, not only diverse, but there's, older, and again, more women who are doing it, and they're killing it. They're killing it because of the life experience and the little everyday things in life that everybody can relate to,
Yeah. So you've been performing 3 years now. And you have been killing it. I mean, and that's some of the things I want to get into next. But what has been the biggest thing that has surprised you about yourself or comedy in this 4 years?
There were so many times where I have to say, I was like, I can't do it. Like, I'm not going to do it anymore. I have a tough skin when it comes to a lot of things. Like, I grew up in Chicago. I grew up, street fighting, all of that. But I told you about the boxing. Like, I took professional boxing classes, like all of that. But there was a certain
Street fighting.
but real street, like, I have scars all on my knuckles from actual, like, street fighting as a kid, not as like a 30-year-old, but
Sure.
in school
Getting a little
you had to,
scuffs.
in school you just had to. But
Wow.
I think what surprised me was that how my feelings were getting hurt. Like, ridiculous. Like, in the beginning, like, a group of people that I knew, and they're all having a show, and I was like, oh, am I going to be on the show too? Like, we all were hanging out, and we're all at the same level, and they're like, we'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what? I thought we were, like, cool. Like,
Sure.
you know what I mean? Like, everybody else is on. I don't think they're any, we're all kind of the same level. But so then I was like, oh, I can't, like, try to, network by staying out to 2:00 in the morning at these bars to try to get on a show. Like, I can't do that. So I'm like, I can't, like, comedy's not going to be for me. Like, and then I would be away from it for a little bit. I said, you know what? I'm going to go to open mic. And then I'd go to open mic and I'd see some people. They're like, hey, and then it's just started. But that's, I think, what surprised me, that how my feelings would get hurt in the beginning. I mean, it sounds ridiculous.
No,
like
it
it's so
doesn't.
like it's so ridiculous. But then you meet like one person who's like so nice to you,
Yes.
who's like, oh my God, like you're talking about stuff nobody else is talking about. Like keep doing it, like stuff like that. I was like, okay, it gives you a fuel to go a few more weeks. And then I started, I think after like 2 years, I started to take on a new perspective. I said, you know what? I'm just not going to go away. That was I'm just not going to go away. If I don't get a job in 3 months, that's fine. If everybody else is doing this and doing that, that's fine. It's the downtime, I think, that creates the character. You know what I mean? For your own character. What are you going to do in that town? So nobody's hiring you for 3 months. What are you going to do? You're going to curl up in bed and cry about it? No. I'm going to write more. I'm going to practice. I'm going to go to open mics. I'm going to go to other people's shows, people who are working. I'm going to meet is there a show I want to get into? I'm going to go to that show and introduce myself and say, oh, I'm here to support your show. Nice to meet you, like that. So I started to, I can't hang out, but I came here to come and see your show and support you, and I like what you're doing. And I'm just not going to go anywhere. So that's when I took that on and stopped feeling personal, like everything was personal, because that's one of the things you'll see in stand-up. You can't take things personal. You just can't.
Yeah.
And so now that I've took on that different perspective, it was like things started getting a little easier.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Definitely.
yeah.
We were talking about earlier just comedy and how things change, but you do get advice from people, and a lot of times comedians get butthurt when somebody gives them advice. But it's interesting because when somebody you really respect and care about gives you advice, it's okay and it feels good, and
Right.
it can transform your entire outlook on things. And there was a case like that with me where somebody gave me some advice, and there's been times where I was butthurt over the advice, like I didn't ask, I didn't ask you for advice, dude.
It's always
why
like
are you mansplaining my comedy? But when somebody you respect, and it just did happen to be a non-dude, but
Right.
but just that the tidbit I got one night was so impactful to me. And of course you get lots of little bits of good advice from people you care about, but one day something can just kind of click inside of you, and you're
right.
like, huh. But that said, it's like you're constantly learning over and
you
over
always have
and
to be learning.
improving,
For
and
sure.
That's what it's all about.
And it's learning about yourself. And it's interesting because I don't know if it was because older, like I got into it even older, and I don't know if it was because of my age, but nobody was ever giving me advice, and I would seek it out. Well, they didn't want to tell, like nobody would say anything to me, because I don't know if they thought like I was doing it for 20 years and now they just started to know who I was or what it was. It's hard at an older age, they can't gauge. So I was never a recipient of like unsolicited advice, but what to the point that you said, the one advice only so far that I've ever gotten about performing was from, oh my God, the queen, the goat, Kristen Toomey. I did a show with her, and she said to me afterwards, she's like, can I tell you something? And I was like, oh my God, she's going to tell me, like, stop, go home. Like, she said, you holding the mic in front of your face, like the sound's fine, but you're blocking your face. She's like, you have a beautiful face and we want to see it. Hold the mic down. And I was like, oh, okay. Yes. Okay. And that's because, I respect her so much. And it was like, that she even took the time.
Wow.
But that's how generous she is. And she's brilliant, of course. But but that was like, okay, wow, thank you. And now I'm always not, in my head about it, but I I know, because I'll do this.
Sure.
I put the mic right here and I got to put it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's amazing to hear that,
Yeah.
because you
get
respect them.
these little tidbits along the way, and some things really stick where it's like so vivid in your mind, like that piece of advice, and other things like might be a slow burn where you have to learn the hard way a couple times.
And then you always have to think of the source, like who's telling, because I've had girlfriends tell me who are in comedy, and they're that it is always a guy, a younger guy, who's like, slow down. If you would just slow down and smile, you'd be so funny. And she's like, fuck off. Like, they're like, okay, you're never working here again. Like, stuff like, it's like retaliatory. It's like,
Yeah.
wait, what?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I feel like, God, I'm glad. I don't think I could navigate stand up as a young woman, because when I was a younger woman, I would have been too quick just to tell everybody, fuck you. Like, get the fuck out. Like, I'm trying to, like, especially some dude trying to tell you who has no skin in the game. Like, who are you? Like, you know, you're handing out drink tickets. Like, give me a break. But but it's better for me that I came to it later, like a little calmer, a little more life experience, and just grateful to be here. Like, I am grateful. Every show I'm on, I'm just grateful. And I pinch my arm right here. My stepdaughter taught me that because she was an EMT in college. So it's like I get so nervous, so sometimes I feel like I'm going to pass out. And so on your left side, supposedly, it's supposed to be the best. And there's like right here, there's a little part right here. If you pinch, it will prevent you from passing out, and also gives you like a little rush of adrenaline.
Get out of here.
Yeah, so I have little bruises. I got little bruises all right here, but it's from so I still get so nervous before a show, but once I'm on stage or perform, I'm fine.
Yeah,
I'm fine. I love it, but it's just before I still get super terrified.
And that's crazy because you would never know it.
Oh,
and I think that's interesting when people say that, because obviously there are nerves involved with doing anything. And I always have a lot more nerves going on than meet the eye. But it's always shocking when someone's like, oh, you seem very...
Yeah, you seem so calm and collect.
Oh,
Wow. Yeah, for sure. Like, you were running everything, and then I was like, oh, she's doing stand-up too? Like, I didn't even know that. Because I knew Claire did stand-up, but I didn't know. I had never seen you before.
I know. We never met.
Never met. And I said, oh, she's the runner. Like, she's running the shit. Like, she's the business lady. But then I'm like, no, she's doing stand-up too? What?
Yeah.
The full package.
Oh, that's what he said.
Yeah. The little package.
I want to talk about something that I think is very significant, because I'm a big fan of Pat Tomasulo.
Oh.
And you got to open for him.
Yes, that was amazing. That was an amazing experience. And meeting him, and 2 shows, and they were both sold out in Sandwich, Illinois, at the Sandwich Opera House, which is the oldest opera house in Illinois and one of the oldest in all of America. And that place is super haunted, by the way. Super, and everybody in the staff too. They're like, yes, it's haunted. It's sandwich. And it's so funny because Pat Tomasulo was kind of roasting them a little bit in his set, and he was talking about, he read that they want to have like their version of the bean in Sandwich, Illinois. It's very rural out there. Great town, great people, but they were voted, and he found the town had voted. They were going to make an actual sandwich, but make it kind of like the bean, but a sandwich. But just the way he did, like, you couldn't help but laugh. Like, that's just so funny. But the women's bathroom there used to be the old jail.
Stop it.
Yes. So there was a jail there, and they were notorious for being like a terrible, terrible jail back in the day. Like, this is like 1800s, a terrible jail. And the lady showed me there's all these groove marks, and I took pictures of it in the stalls. It's from prisoners trying to dig their way out of the jail to escape. So yes, multiple layers of ghosts. But yeah, that was Pat Tomasulo was amazing. Yeah. And his style of comedy, I had seen little clips of it, but I never, I was there for that show to see, like, he roasts people. Like, that's from the beginning to end, and they love it. Like, he can skate. I mean, and you see, it's brilliant because he roasts them, and he gets to the point of a line where you think they're going to hate him, and then he pulls it back, and he's charming. And then he does it again, and he just the yin and yang of the roasting and charming, roasting and charming, and they love it.
Brilliant.
Like, he's brilliant. He's brilliant at it.
He is.
Yeah.
his dryness. I just sometimes like a dry person is so
Yeah.
hard for you to read because you're just
Right.
like, are they pissed at me? I don't know, but
Yeah.
damn, they're funny.
Yeah, he's
but
really
Pat
funny.
Tomasulo just gives off that dryness that is so funny.
So funny. And he hits him like he's like, oh, he just hits him on so many different points that they're just like, yeah, I can't. Like, yeah, you're right. Like he does his research. You can tell. Like he does his research. And that was an eye opener. I was like, oh, he really like researches the town, researches like things they're voting on. Like he goes deep into that. So when he roasts them, it's like coming from a place of like factual
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
And then he like I said, he'll pull it back. But yeah, he was and he was super nice backstage and very very friendly and professional.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, super cool.
I like informative comedy too. For me, I like learning
Yeah.
facts. You know,
Yeah.
I like learning a little something or giving people a little something when I'm doing comedy too,
Right.
like a little knowledge.
Yeah. And that was I was like, I didn't know that about the sandwich. He's like, yeah, that's true. Like you're gonna put a sandwich.
I can just like say you're like a visionary. I can just see like a sandwich in my
Yeah,
head,
in
like
the town.
envision a Sammy.
A Sammy, yeah. So he's brilliant, yeah, definitely. And then I read before I had seen him, journalists do really well at there, and there's several journalists in Chicago that do stand up, and journalists do well at stand up. One of the reasons is because when they're in journalist school, their writing techniques, some of them overlap with comedy writing techniques, like the rule of three. And in journalism, they're taught the rule of three, and that's one of the techniques in comedy too. So they're kind of set up a little bit for the writing. They're going to be good at that writing with the technical parts of it. So and they're able to be in front of other people and talk well. So they do well at comedy if they want to. Yeah, and then they already have the name.
Right.
So
Right.
he'll get booked anytime he wants at Zanies and stuff because they love him. Yeah, because he'll bring in a crowd. People want to see him.
So how did that connection come about? How did you land that gig?
I had performed at Sandwich with Bad Moms of Comedy. So they had a different name. So it was interesting. With Pat Tomasulo, the lady, when she contacted me, she had my name. She had a few different people's names. And she was going through like their social media and then seeing who was available. But she said that originally they had thought, somebody like Pat Tomasulo, a bigger name, they usually will bring in their own people. But he doesn't. It's in his contract that so if he performs somewhere, you as the place will have the opener. And you have that all set up. He's not going to bring in his own people. And some bigger names want to bring their own people, so they're used to that. But in this case, they had to find an opener. So they just had names that they felt like did well at Sandwich, and that was all because of Bad Moms Comedy. Wow. So she called me and she was like, she looked through my stuff and she narrowed it down to 3, and she thought it would be nice to have a woman open for him. So she was basically like picking from, I think maybe all Bad Moms, but I'm not sure. But she definitely got my name from Bad Moms and said, oh, you performed, here before, you did well. Would you want to open for Pat Tomasulo? We're hoping you can do both nights. If you can only do one, that's fine. We can call somebody else, but we're, reaching out to you first to see. I'm like,
Wow.
yes, I will do it, and I will do both nights.
Go girl.
Yeah, and it was a great experience. And the town was super friendly and super nice. The audience was great. They were there like to come out and see him. Like the restaurant before was like packed. Everybody, like the whole town came out to see him.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was really cute. Yeah, it was a nice town. And like there's a bar that 85 Bears player owns out there.
Wow.
Yeah, so we got to meet him and talked about that in the show, and that went over really well. They like that. They're all Bears fans, so I'm a huge Bears fan. So
Bears.
Yeah, it was go Bears. So it was great.
So you were talking about Bad Moms.
Yeah.
And you guys were just in New York City.
Yes.
And we had Orly KG on Comedy and Caviar.
Yes.
And I want to get her on the pod.
Oh, yeah.
She's incredible. She killed. She was hilarious.
Yeah, she's amazing.
And God knows she is an incredible business woman.
Incredible. I mean, and talk about a visionary. Like she decided to get into comedy later in life too, and just was like, oh, she said she was at Lincoln Lodge and saw a show there, and she was in the bathroom and said, oh, do you want to get involved in comedy? Take a class. And I think her first class wasn't at Lincoln Lodge, but she did take a class, I think at IO or somewhere, but she took stand up, and she started to go to open mics as you start to go to the open mics. It's like required. And she's like, what? Everybody's a 20-year-old dude, and they're all just talking about the same thing. She's like, where are the moms? Where are the women? And we had never crossed paths in the open mic circuit yet. But so she was like, I'm going to just start. And that's imagine that. She's like, I'm just going to start my own thing.
Yes,
where
yes,
it's
yes.
moms. And she also has women who aren't moms on, but she's like, it's going to be moms. And this
yeah.
is what we're going to start with. And she started getting gigs with PTA, PTA fundraisers, and started doing that because the moms went.
Wow.
They had never seen a show with that's other moms, and that started killing it. And she started booking that, and then progressing and selling out places, and she's been at Zanies, and we were in Nashville not too long ago. We went to Nashville, and that was a great experience with Mo Good and Kristen Toomey and me. And I'm like, well, I can't believe I'm with these two women that are amazing comics. So that was a great experience.
I wanted to talk about the acting short that I saw that you did recently with Joe Kilgallen.
Oh, yes.
And who directed that?
That's Stephen Haas.
Okay.
So Stephen Haas is brilliant. He's a young guy, and it's funny because I reached out to him 2 years ago, and because I saw his little skit. He does those skits all the time, and it was always younger people and stuff. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna just reach out to him because I had done now at that point I had did 2 shows with him, and I met him at Zanies, and I said, I feel not out of the blue, asking him. I said, I used to do acting, and I was showing him stills from this recent acting class I took that was on camera. I'm like, I don't just do theater. If you ever need a crazy mom or somebody older, I'd be happy to be in one of your skits. And he was like, oh, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. I'll definitely reach out at some point. I was like, cool. And so then it was almost exactly 2 years to the date that I sent that. That he's like, hey, I'm writing something. Do you want to, be involved in it? I was like, yes. And so then when I went and did it, and he's so awesome, I was like, it was 2 years to the day. He's like, no, I think I go, no, I look. And he's like, wow. He's like, well, I meant to hit you up before that, but, but no, that was awesome because and then I was like, oh, see, I love acting too. Yeah. But that was fun because it was fast.
That's incredible because I've talked about it before and I'll say it again. With your energy, what you're giving off, the generational knowledge that's in your DNA, you are such a powerful force. So it's you write that message, and it took 2 years to manifest.
Right.
And things can take that long.
Sure.
You write it down and simmer on it.
Right.
And it happens. And I wish more and more people would realize how powerful words are in writing things down. And you don't think about it in an email or a message. You don't think about that as because you think about writing down physically writing the words, which I do think is therapeutic and different and more special.
Right.
But nonetheless, you're typing it out.
Right.
You're manifesting it into reality.
Right.
And it took 2 years.
Yeah.
But
and
boom.
You put it out there. Yeah. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying before, where now, I used to put a time frame. If I reached out to somebody and they're like, oh, I'll get back to you, and I don't hear from them, I'm like, oh, it's never going to happen. I stopped that. Now I'm just like, I'm just here. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I put the seed, and eventually, if they want to, they'll come around. If not, it's nothing. It's not a reflection on me. Yes. It's not a rejection. And that just changing that mindset of
not taking it personally.
Yeah, they'll catch up eventually.
Yes.
We'll do something together eventually. But I always felt that with him, because he's, I felt like he's a filmmaker. He is a filmmaker. And when I first got there, he had his buddy who was who filmed that skit, and who helps him a lot, and they were all talking technical stuff, and I was like, wow, you guys are real filmmakers. They were talking about I can't even remember the words they were saying, like just like numbers and letters and like things and what kind of mic it was and like how the speed of it and how they were going to edit. And I'm like, wow, you guys, so cool. And it was like I was on a high after that for so long.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you, like I said, you're charismatic. You're somebody people want to watch.
Oh, thank you.
You really are.
Wow, it's amazing to hear that. Thank you.
And I'm like, as you're sitting here, I'm just like blah, 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 thinking all these things, and I can't wait to have a chat after this as we start to wrap things up.
Sure.
And the cool thing is, I got to meet your husband.
Oh, my husband, yeah.
Who,
my driver.
Yeah.
He's my driver a lot of times.
Yes, he is.
But it's great because, you know, it's really a different dynamic in our marriage now. And we've been together, you know, married 29 years, but we've been together like 32 years. Wow. But like I said, when we first got married, he was in politics. And then I helped him win his first election. And then, you know, everything was politics, politics, politics. And he said to me one day, I think it was like a year ago, he's like, I'm like, Jesse, you know, this is taking up a lot of your time because sometimes I'll have him drive me. And he's like, it's your time to shine. He's like, you did so much for me and our family. And the way he said, he's like, it's your time to shine. You need to do this. And I'm your biggest fan. And he means it. And I was like, okay, see, now that just gives you another breath to keep going, right?
Yes.
So it's just amazing that how the dynamics change like that in a marriage and a relationship. And it's beautiful.
It is beautiful. You took the words out of my mouth. I'm just thinking how beautiful it is for him to say those words. It's your time to shine.
Yeah, it really meant, and you know, he's like, you never asked for anything. You never, you know, complained about not doing it. And no, it's your time. And you hear him talk like he thinks I'm reincarnation of like Lucy. Like I'm not, because she was still alive when I was born. But it's just the similarities. But he's like, no, it's such a good feeling in my kids too to you know they're proud of you. You know, it means a lot. Like.
And they're watching you pursue your
they're
dreams.
watching you, and hopefully, you know, they see that. And now, you know, you want to set an example because it's never too late. Yes. There's not, for anybody, there's not an expiration on us.
No.
And you know what? We're bringing more to the table than we would have if we were 25, you know, and who knows what you would have got caught up in at 25. And like, from, you know, I might have been dead if I got into comedy at 25.
I know.
You know, I might not have made it. Like, I might be dead. Like, if I got into comedy at 25, you know. But but I absolutely love it, and I'm not going to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The perspective is different.
It's different, yeah.
But it's of value, and like you're saying, the audience. A lot of times, the audience are older people, and their perspective is different. So that's really
right.
relevant.
Right, because I think, you know, when especially you know, Gen X and older, you don't, you know, not that you're not nostalgic for when you were in your 20s, but you don't want to hear about 20-year-olds today are completely different than 20-year-olds when we were 20, you know. So they want to hear somebody that can talk about like the tediousness of being married and you know and being an empty nester and all those journeys that they can be like, yes, that's just, exactly.
And even some of the old things that we're talking about, like look busy, you know, the things that were impressed upon us as children, which is, let's face it, you know, some of those things are dying off.
Right.
And it is very special for me just to talk to you about some of these things that I can't talk with everybody about, but you know, we get what we're talking about because we lived
look
it.
Busy.
We lived it. Yeah.
Right. You got to look busy, you know.
At this point in the game, what is next for you?
Well, I definitely have a lot of goals and things I've written down. I mean, I know that I don't ever want to stop comedy. I don't have the pressure on me of like, oh my God, like I want to have a Netflix special like in 5 years. Like to me, this art, I respect it so much that I just want to keep getting better and grow, and I want to write more. I'm hoping to get, like right now I have a half an hour, and I'm hoping by the summer, because I want to go to Wisconsin for like 2 weeks, and this is what I'm thinking in my head, like I'll be alone in the woods, and it's just me and my dog, and I'm gonna get that other half hour, because I have stacks and stacks of notebooks. Like writing's never been my problem. Like I write almost every day. It's getting it together and getting it on its feet. So like that for me, I want to be able to get an hour down, and I want to be able to. I've never headlined. Like I would like to by next year, like start trying to be able to. I'll manifest. By next year, I'll be starting to headline shows, maybe the same shows I'm doing now, but I'll be a headliner. But I don't have that pressure of like, okay, like the Netflix special, or people are talking, oh, I want this, I want that, or I want to be, in a movie. I want to get better at it. And I mean, it might sound corny, but I want to be respected. Like I want to, people to think that I'm good. Like that's what I want. Like to hear that feedback, like even from you today, it means so much. Like it's insane to think about it, but because I never thought I'd get even to where I am now. So to think of where I could be in a few more years, if I just keep doing my work ethic where I write every day and just taking more chances, like I'm getting better at, like I do crowd work now. A year ago, oh my God, I was terrified of crowd work. And now I'm just like, they're just people in my living room. Like that's how I'm like, there are people in my living room, and we're,
I like that.
Yeah, that's how I think. And I want them to be like, you want to come back over later? Like that, like, but, and also being in the moment. Like when I first started doing shows, it was almost like a monologue. Like I memorized what I was going to say. And then I was like, I don't want to look at anybody. I can't look at anybody. And then I just go off stage. But now I'm like, no, I'm in the moment and I'm interacting. And you see that's this unique art form of stand-up. It's a give and take. Not that the whole set's got to be, crowd work, because then you see some people just do only crowd work. Like you have to have some shit written down too,
Yeah.
But to be in that moment and to engage with people, and for them to let down their veil, because they come in with like a wall and a veil, and to have them just let that down, and then you're just kind of like hooping and hollering, like that to me is a goal, like with the audience, to be able to get them to where like they're peeing in their pants, like literally. Like we joke about that, but yeah, like I said, I know now that I love it so much that I'm not going to stop. So whatever that going up, whatever that involves, sure, I'm open to everything.
Yes.
But I'm going to just keep with my work ethic that I know that I have, and just keep challenging myself and try to just get better and better at it. I really want to get good at it.
Yes.
I want to be one of the good ones, you know?
Yes.
If I can, and then if I have the opportunities to be able to do it. But that's what I'm going to just keep doing, like one foot in front of the other, just getting better and better. Chicago's awesome. All our whole art scene in Chicago is just awesome.
Chicago.
It's the best. You can't beat it. You can't beat it for everything, especially art, because it's always intertwined kind of with, from my experience in Chicago with art, it's always intertwined with kind of like what we were talking about, like the blue collar. So there's that, city of big shoulders, but it's art too. So it's not just like, there's not you might meet a few, but there's not like the trust fund babies coming in and trying to, and they're doing art just to make their parents mad.
Yeah.
It's a community of people who are really working their ass off to try to do this, and it's just a work ethic that nobody else has. And if you come from somewhere else and come to Chicago, you rapidly realize that, and you bump up your work ethic, because you see these people are grinding.
Yeah.
They're grinding and they're funny. Like,
yeah.
People from Chicago are naturally funny, and they're grinding. You're not going to outwork them, and so now you got to step it up.
Wow.
And that's why people get so good, especially in comedy in Chicago.
Right.
Because of those two things.
They say once you can do comedy in Chicago, you can do it in LA and New York.
Oh, yeah. And they want you there. Even with actors, like they want Chicago actors because it's a realness, and they know they have that work ethic too,
Yeah.
You can't beat it.
It has really been so awesome talking with you.
It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor.
It's the beginning, I really feel like.
I think so too. Yeah.
I know it's the beginning.
It's a beginning. I have a beautiful journey.
Yes, it is. Freak out. Yes, it is.
Yes.
But
more art to come.
And I love the art that you're talking about, the art in just a different, like the art. And I feel that like it is part of me, and it's something
For
that
sure it
I
is.
think the other day I was sitting at work and I'm just like, wow, I've been like brainwashed like since I was a child into thinking I'm just this worker bee.
Yeah.
And what a like poor innocent child like mind I had that I
Right.
was just like, I will work for all this time. But
Right.
at what time do you take a step back and say, I want to live my life?
Right. Get back in touch with yourself as a little kid, because you know,
Yes.
as little kids we have so much imagination and we're constantly daydreaming. And that's one of the things like Walt Disney talked about when he was a little kid in school, that he was always getting in trouble for daydreaming and writing, like drawing little sketches of like a mouse and stuff like that. Even as a little kid he was doing that, and they were yelling, oh, stop daydreaming. But it's not daydreaming, it's like a
visionary.
visionary. You're a visionary. That's what you got to call visionaries.
I'm so excited for future projects with you.
Yes.
I really am stoked.
I am too. That's like a kindred spirit when you find somebody that's an artist that is just starting to kind of spread their wings, you know?
Yeah.
It's awesome, because that's where I am.
It's magic. It's a feeling of magic and energy. And
Energy, because that's what it gives you, that energy that you would just be in bed exhausted from life if it wasn't for art, you know?
Yeah. And being around like-minded people with good energy.
Oh, you feel
our
it.
energy is actually, it's like in this room.
It's in
like
this room and you feel it.
Yeah, in the ether. So that said, and since we're kind of on the manifestation topic, as we're closing out,
Yeah.
what is the pie in the sky for Avril? What
Oh.
is your ultimate, if you can manifest anything in this moment, anything at all, it doesn't even have to be
Yeah.
comedy related, but what would that thing be?
Let's see. I've always been fascinated with film too, and starting out as as a teenager, starting to do acting. I mean, obviously, I would love to do more acting. I'd love to do a film, like collaborate with somebody and do a film. I think and try to write. That would be amazing to me. I always love comedy, and I'll still do that. But that would be something that to put comedy and acting together in some way, with like organic writing, would be, that would be a dream come true to do like a film. I will do a film. I would.
I'm looking in your eyes. I'm like, it shall be done.
I would love.
will
I mean, that was
happen.
something always fantasized about as a little girl, like doing a movie, like doing a film, but
Sure.
but something, that you could collaborate with other people and work on it together. I think would be just God, the pie in the sky. Like you're choosing what the project you're working on. That just sounds so. I don't know. I shouldn't say out of reach, but I mean that would just be amazing if I could do that before I die. I would love to do that. I would love to do film and have like a hand in it. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
like the story and everything like that. And I write a lot about I've never written a screenplay, but I write a lot about like ideas for that.
I just know already that you're going to do that. I'm just like, well, we'll be playing this back someday.
Oh,
going,
that would be amazing.
Wow,
or even
look,
a
remember.
TV show. Like I always talk about, like I always have ideas about that too. Just almost like because I'm a nanny, and I think that would be such a cool TV show of like this older nanny. But so there's like the scenes of like her nanny life and like the other nannies and like taking these kids to these music classes and these rich families and all that. And then at night, this old lady out here trying to do comedy in the comedy scene, like
Wow.
yeah, almost like a Abbott Elementary like style, but those two things of the nanny and then trying to break into comedy as an older woman and like all of that. Like I just think that there's so many different storylines that could do. you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yes, definitely just keep creating. Hopefully, I can just keep creating, doing that because I know I feel better physically for sure. when I'm being creative.
Where can people see you next?
I found out that I'm going to be on the Chicago, the first Windy City Comedy Festival.
Oh my gosh.
And so that'll be my first comedy festival. And it's Chicago. So that'll be fun. So that'll be in August. And then I have a couple shows at Lincoln Lodge coming up too in June.
Cool.
Yeah.
So people can follow you on Instagram?
Oh, yes. Instagram, Avril, Avril, V is in Victor. And that's French for April.
Okay.
And I was born in April.
Avril.
Avril. Mm-hmm. And Granato, Granato. So all my socials are all that name. Because I didn't think it would go much further than that. I didn't come up with like a good comedy name.
So real.
I know my daughter asked me one time because when the kids in school, they used to call me Mama G. She's like, why didn't you do Mama G? I was like, because I didn't know if this would last past 2 weeks. Like, I didn't know. Like, I just went with my real name. Like, so.
Well, Mama G.
Mama G.
Avril, you are inspiring me in so many ways.
I hope so. I hope I can inspire a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really are.
Thank you. That's awesome to hear.
And we need you and we need your art.
Thank you. We need your art too, girl. Keep it going. Visionaries. It's very
Visionaries.
rare. Visionaries. And then you just got to put it into practice, right?
Yes.
Got to do it.
Yeah.
That's remember I said that you can't choose if you're an artist, but you can choose to do your art. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Good times.
We were born artists. What can we say?
Yeah, it is. It's if you don't do it, it's a miserable way to go. It's hard on your body. It's hard on everything. It's hard on people around you if you don't do your art. Wow. Yeah, we gotta just do it.
You are such a breath of life into my existence.
That's amazing.
This has been such a cool meeting for the second time.
Yeah.
This has been such a cool experience, just being able to share what you've learned in your years in comedy, in your years in life.
Yeah.
And I just to see what's coming next for you. I can't wait to see.
That's amazing. Thank
where
you.
Where you end up next.
Yeah, this is, I think, the start of like, we're going to know each other for a very long time.
And it all happened today on the 11th episode of Coming Up Comic.
And 11 is such that I love the number 11. My husband and I got married on the 11th of February.
Freak?
And there's a bunch of like other 11s, but yeah, 11. We got married on February 11th. So
I mean, it is written. It's written in the stars.
It is written, and so it shall be.
Exactly. So this is basically like our little timestamp of where we're at now.
Yes.
And we're manifesting what will be next. And I see good things.
I do too.
In your future, my friend.
I see good things in your future too. Together.
Yes.
Academy Awards, bitch.
I would like to thank.
Yeah, I would like to thank our 11th podcast.
Yeah, 11.
11.
Praise the Lord. Thank you
Lord.
for
Thank
11
you, God.
episodes of Coming Up Comic. Like I said at the top, it has not always been easy because sometimes I'm like, what is the value in this? But that's just because like you get those demons in your head and life is just.
Yeah, and you have to, there's always voices in your head, and you have to listen to the one that's you.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. And then that sometimes that's hard because you're hearing all these different voices, right? But if you can pinpoint the one that is you, your authentic voice, and listen to that, and that's basically your intuition too, right? Black out the other noise and concentrate on that voice, and you can't go wrong.
Listen to number one. Mm-hmm. So, folks, episode 11, Coming Up Comic with Avril Granato, the hilarious comedian out of Chicago. Check her out on her Instagram And thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Thank you. Thanks, you guys.
Avril, it's been incredible.
It's been
and
amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
This is Coming Up Comic. Signing off.
Bye.
Peace. Thank you.
But it just don't feel the same.
Hello? Avril? Hi, sweetie. How are you? You're a little scared? Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. You remember that time you jumped into the deep end of the water and nobody else did? And you went down and you came back up? Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. Yeah, I went down and I came back up. So it's gonna be okay. Yeah. Just, yeah, it's okay to be scared. Just keep that brave. You're brave and scared at the same time, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you can't do it. Okay. What are you gonna make? Oh, some celery with peanut butter. Oh, and the little, yeah. The little raisins. Yeah, ants on a log. Okay, we'll enjoy. And no, it's okay. If you go under, you're always gonna come back up. Okay, I love you. I always loved you. Thank you. Okay, bye, my love.